Justice calling in from Texas, I believe. No, Siberia. Justice, you're on Free Talk Live.
Добрый день, товарищи.
No idea what
Good
that
morning, comrades.
Jawohl.
Is it morning in Siberia?
It's morning. You guys are a Monday morning show right now. So.
That's awesome. It's 5 a.m. somewhere.
Yeah.
So what's on your mind,
the
Justice?
trick that Skype plays on Mark every time. He always says, it's Justice from Texas.
There's another Justice.
All right. Anyway, couple of things. First of all, I wanted to take the Bible scholars to task for your answer on the question of why the parable of the sower was the most important parable that you guys answered a few weeks back to a certain Nathaniel.
All right.
So I actually am pretty impressed with Mark and Brian, your guys' albeit antagonistic, but nonetheless deep scholarship of the Bible.
Thank you.
In this one, you kind of missed the mark. The reason why most Bible scholars think that the parable of the sower is the most important parable is because Jesus said it was. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. When he tells us, when the disciples ask him to interpret the parable of the sower for him, he says, if you cannot understand this parable, how then shall you understand any parable? And that's why most Bible scholars believe that the parable of the sower is a sort of decryption code, so to speak, for all parables. So then, because Jesus goes through and says that the guy who goes out to sow is the person who tells the word of God, the seed is the word that's sown, and the different kinds of.
So it's the almost literal roadmap.
Well, I guess we're owned there. What's the next one, Justice?
Say what?
I guess we're owned there. What's the next topic?
All right, next topic. There you go. The next topic is I'm here in Siberia, and I'm looking for some justice from the U.S. press. And I don't know. I just wanted to bring up the topic of the Ukraine and Russia's situation that's happening over there right now.
Thank you for calling it the Ukraine. Thank you.
Well,
isn't that incorrect?
That's incorrect because that would be referring to it as a state, and a person calling from Russia, claiming that it's the Ukraine, showing all kinds of bias. Yeah. But I think it must be very interesting watching U.S. press and watching Russian press on this topic.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, everyone's got their own bias and everything, but the reality is that the United States, since the fall of the Soviet Union, has used every possible opportunity to expand its influence in the region.
Sure.
Stepping up the participation of former satellite states of the Soviet Union into NATO, even though the Reagan administration swore a solemn oath to, the Gorbachev administration that they wouldn't do that if they released the satellite states, and America has lost any goodwill with this current generation of Russians that it ever had, and they actually had quite a bit back in the 90s. I mean, the Russians looked to the Americans like God, and to sit over there in the States, for the media to sit over there and say, how dare Russia do this, or we need to get involved, is just to completely look at the situation without any kind of historical or political context. I mean, and it's just absolute insanity on our part.
Well, what makes sense is people to decide where they want. If they want to be ruled by somebody, they should be able to decide who they want to be ruled by, but not with people with guns pointing at their head when they make the decision. I mean, that's kind of how it's been up to this point, hasn't it?
Well, I mean, to a certain degree, but like there's a couple different topics that you can talk about on that, like the Crimean situation where they had the referendum. You've got 70-some% ethnic Russians living in the Crimea, and so when they have this referendum and it comes out to be like 70-some% of people want to go and be part of Russia, I mean, like, surprise? I mean, is that really really so surprising.
It's kind of like the Hawaiian vote, where the basically only American citizens living in the territory of Hawaii were allowed to vote whether or not Hawaii would be inducted as a state or whatever.
Yeah, I think Justice is actually bringing up an interesting point real quick about the American press, because I think they have to be working double time, maybe triple time, to make America look good these days. And if that means they have to smear every other country on the planet, they're going to do it, and they are.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. So I just don't. America needs to look back to its, I don't know, not necessarily its founding, but just realize that we're not going to protect and support democracy and freedom all around the world by stomping on everyone's democracy and freedom and losing in our own.
One of my concerns about what's going on in eastern Ukraine is that there's been a lot of recruitment of Russians to go fight in Ukraine, and that seems really disingenuous to me. I mean, if a portion of a country wishes to secede to another country, shouldn't they, and they've got local support for that, shouldn't they be able to find enough people to fight in that geographic area rather than trying to draw people in from, I don't know, the largest country as far as land mass goes on the earth?
Yeah, that's a good thing, but you have to realize the cultural, historical, social aspect of this. I mean, Ukraine to Russia is like what the original 13 colonies are to the United States. I have people in my village. I'm a goat farmer out here, missionary / goat farmer. And I've got people down the road who I work with who are like, yeah, I'm signing up to I'm going to go to the Ukraine and help our Eastern brothers over there. And I'm like, why? Well, because it's our homeland, it's our motherland, we owe it to them. It's just very weird social. It's not so much recruitment is going on as much as people are volunteering.
But they've got recruitment stations. I mean, there's somebody there to talk you into it.
Well, not in my village.
All right. If you look hard enough, I would start in Moscow.
Like 5,000 kilometers away from the Ukraine.
if I wanted to go someplace, I would probably start in Moscow, St. Petersburg, these kind of places, because they're geographically closer and they're, population centers.
Yeah, I'm not saying that the Russian involvement in the Ukraine is any better than the United States involvement in any of the other places that we've been involved in the U.S. I'm just saying that the reporting that's going on in the States is just completely off the wall. And if you want to get a decent perspective on a halfway decent perspective on what's going on, then I'd suggest all the listeners go to Dan Carlin and listen to Poking the Bear, his episode that he did on that one.
Yeah, Dan Carlin's got great stuff.
His most recent one is really good.
Yeah, I guess in this circumstance, I do believe it's two countries that aren't that should just leave Ukraine alone and let it figure out its own thing. If those people want to secede, they should secede and create their own little country rather than teaming up with Russia. But whatever. But I don't know. I mean, I guess it's one of those things where it's like, well, in the vacuum, what's going to happen? If the United States stays out of it, clearly Russia won't.
We need another.
Well, I don't know that that's true. I mean, I don't know that that's true. Russia has, when the thing with Crimea started, everyone was saying Putin is just looking for an excuse. He's just looking for an excuse to get involved. Frankly.
Yeah, I think we need another music peace festival.
He's had enough of an excuse. He just had enough excuses. So, I mean, if he wanted to get involved, he would have already had tanks in Kiev.
Well, it isn't going to go well for him if he does get involved. Thank you so much for the call, Justice. I appreciate it. 855-450-3733, Free Talk Live. Can't we just stop pointing guns at each other to solve our problems?
Yeah,
another
please.
music peace festival. Come on, let's do it.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.